They follow the instructions, they can file for their own divorce, right?
That's right.
What do you think the advantages are? I mean, sell me a bit, can you?
The advantage are obviously saving in money, but there's an additional advantage of saving time. If you act as your own lawyer, which it is your right to do, you don't have to be at the mercy of someone else. For example, a lawyer will take many cases. Actually, he can't live on one case. And he can't work on yours as soon as it comes in, but you, as your own lawyer, can simply push it through in a matter of weeks.
You also feel there's an advantage if the man and wife work together and filling out and doing all this for him, you might have a more...
No, it's not necessary. An uncontested divorce in New York, the plaintiff does everything, the defendant does nothing. An uncontested divorce is a default divorce.
Well, in our case, we had Nora filled them all out, but a year later, her husband, Al, used the legal separation as grounds for the divorce, and he brought the case, the action.
No, he would have had to fill out the papers.
And file them. Now, do they have to be filed anywhere? You just fill them out and get them notarized, the separation papers.
Separation, the law says it must be on file before the divorce action is taken, but it can be a day before.
Okay, all right. Now, obviously in this case, for Nora and Al, you feel that that was a bona fide case to use a divorce yourself kit.
Well, it was because there was no one had, he couldn't get one without a separation because he left her. Mm-hmm. See, in New York, we do not have no-fault divorce.
I think people will be surprised at that, but we really don't have no fault.
No, it's fault divorce. Somebody is at fault.
Okay, now let me introduce two other guests here. Ginny Krause, a matrimonial lawyer practicing here in New York City and also on the board of directors of NOW, the National Organization of Women. Quickly, Jerry Skoloff, who's from West Orange, New Jersey, who I should point out has written kind of what's the standard reference for other lawyers practicing family law. It amounts to the divorce Bible, I guess, in Jersey. What do you two think of this divorce yourself kit? Jeannie, do you have some reservations? I'm sure, a lawyer, you have some reservations.
I certainly do. The first thing I'd have to discuss after looking over the kits, I found that there were different paragraphs in the kits dealing with what you do with alimony, what you do with child support, what you do with division of property. Now let me preface all my comments with the fact that I'm a feminist and I'm also a matrimonial attorney, so my point of view is strongly in favor of what's best for the woman. The courts in the state of New York, and I also think in the state of New Jersey, I think we're basically dealing with these two states tonight, give, in my opinion, very inequitable awards. I think what they give out to cover the wife and the child sorely depreciates the standard of living that they had before. If we're going to get involved in using a do-it-yourself to resolve issues of support and alimony, division of property, where the wife doesn't understand what her rights are, however limited, my opinion is, however limited those rights are through the courts, she may be on the short end of the stick. She's always on the receiving end of the stick. I think it's fair to say that economic power is concentrated in men. There are women who work, don't misunderstand me. There are women who work, but support is usually coming from the husband to the wife. And if she's going to sell herself short by using these kits without understanding what her rights are completely, then she's going to be cheating herself.
Jeannie, in this case, and I think Dale Robbins agrees with me, this couple didn't have a great deal. This is a couple which they saved themselves a lot of money, or did they? What does it cost? What would this divorce have cost?
Okay, first I would have to qualify that and say that, you know, with advertising now we have very reduced rates for legal services, and I think that Nora and Alphonse is his name?
Alfonso.
Could have gotten a divorce from an attorney for the fee of roughly $300. I think their costs for the do-it-yourself separation, the do-it-yourself kit for the divorce, you have court costs that come almost to $100. Well, we're close to the same thing. They would have saved themselves a lot of aggravation. And looking to Nora's point of view, Nora was very upset that he divorced her. Emotionally, this bothered her. She felt he was at fault in the divorce. Maybe she should have taken the divorce from him. Now, in the skit, it said that Alfonso had a consultation with an attorney, and the attorney told him there are no grounds. Well, Nora never had that consultation. I would question whether she didn't have grounds. He left her. If she had waited a little longer, she could have had an abandonment divorce. She may have had a cruel and when he left, there may have been harsh words. He may have said, "I no longer love you. I I want to live with somebody else." We don't know. In our state, we can get a divorce very easily on cruel and inhuman treatment, very easily on abandonment. Why should they have waited that whole year, unless they were partial to a no fault? But I don't think Nora wanted that no fault. I think she wanted to be the plaintiff.
Gary Skoloff from New Jersey, your feelings about divorce yourself kit, using it, and your reaction to our couple.
In New Jersey, firstly, you must appear in court to obtain a divorce. I believe a statement was made that in New York that's not particularly necessary. It's absolutely necessary in New Jersey. Secondly, the statement was made that with a kit you can move faster. Not so in New Jersey. In New Jersey, a lawyer could move a case faster than someone just using the kit. The kit could be used by two people under the factual situation that was put forth this evening. If it's that clean and simple, and I must be very frank in saying I've never seen one that clean and simple, but if it really is so, no children, no assets, no alimony, no problems, nothing to divide up whatsoever, then if someone wanted to go and use the kit, it could be done. As soon as you go past that, and you have children, and you have assets, and you have other problems, there is no way that I can see laymen preparing agreements that will hold up in court. And if there's any kind of an agreement, both parties must be in court.
Let me ask you a personal question. What would have it cost that couple to get a divorce? Honestly now, if they come to you.
In New Jersey?
No, they come to you, Gary Skoloff.
Oh, if they came to me, we would send them out of my firm, which is a relatively high-priced firm, and send them to very young lawyers in our area who we know, who are advertising, as was just stated, and would charge $300 or $350 plus costs to handle it.
Is it improper for me to ask what you charge?
Our minimum fee in our firm is $1,500.
So in this case, if they, I mean, really, the kit makes sense in terms financially.
Right, but our firm wouldn't take this kind of a case. We would actually send them out to a half a dozen lawyers in our area who would charge $350 that area plus costs.
Okay, I want to let Dale Robbins. Do you have anything to say so far before I move on here?
Well, as he said, in New Jersey, it's a slightly different situation. But even in New Jersey, you can get it with a divorce kit for $200 and something.
How many of these kits have you sold?
Oh,
In the metropolitan area.
1,500.
In how long? In what period
Over
of
a
time?
year.
1,500 in a year.
But the firm has been in business upstate New York for 7 or 8 years.
And how many?
So, well, the total must be 12, 15,000, I imagine.
Obviously, you sell them and you believe them. Have you had any legal difficulties? Do you have any problems about them holding up in the long run? Anybody contesting later they didn't really get a divorce?
No, it's signed by a judge. You see, here's the point. It's all based on the fact that the law says you have the right to have an attorney represent you. But you also have the right to represent yourself.
And you think somebody can read through that? Actually, didn't a barber make up this?
Yes, that's right.
A barber is the guy who thought up this kit and put it together, and you follow. I read the thing. You follow it step by step, and it did not seem that difficult.
No, there are instruction sheets and worksheets by the numbers. 1, your name. You find where the 1 is on the worksheet, and you put your name.
I can do that much, right?
All right.
Jeannie Krause, let's ask about, as opposed to do it yourself, what about running off to Haiti or Dominican Republic, 2 very popular places to go do it quickly?
I strongly don't urge those divorces. I think that there are a lot of problems when you come back in the question of enforcing these kind of decrees. You can get a divorce in New York State, presuming that your lawyer is actively pursuing the case and hasn't filed you in the back, and most lawyers shouldn't, or I presume they do not. They certainly should not do that.
What do you charge?
I work on a sliding scale, so it would depend on what the income of the parties is. I think a divorce like this can be done for $300, $350 very easily.
You do it for that?
Yes, I would. It's a very simple divorce. There are no problems, and the parties can be satisfied. On the other hand, if they want to use do-it-yourself, the option is open to them. But for the aggravation, I see it that they might as well go to an attorney.
Gary Skoloff from West Orange, New Jersey. What's your feeling about jurisdictional problems? You want to get into that for me?
Haiti, Dominican Republic, in New Jersey would be an invalid divorce. Anyone who goes down there, obtains a divorce, and comes back is still married as far as the state of New Jersey is concerned. It would be a total waste of money.
Jeannie.
Let me answer your question. The purpose, I think, for not even bothering with these things and having the future aggravation of them being deemed valid or invalid, you can get a divorce in New York State. I've done it in a question of weeks. You can sign a waiver of the time of the 20-day period to answer. You can send it to court. If the courts aren't backlogged, you can do it in a few weeks. I once had a client come into me in December and said, I must be divorced before the end of the year for tax purposes. I said, I can't give you any guarantees, and we got it for her.
Here's a question. Here's a woman who called in. Separated several years, but not legally. How to get a legal divorce? Just a little bit of time, Gary.
In what state?
New York.
Okay, that's a different situation from New Jersey. In New Jersey, you need only separate for 18 months and you have a no-fault divorce. In New York, I believe you've got to file some kind of papers, and it's a different situation.
There must be grounds. If they were separated and one abandoned the other for a period of 1 year, then you go on abandonment. If there was no abandonment and there are no grounds, there must be a legal separation agreement. It must be active for 1 year, and then you can go for the no-fault divorce.
With just a little bit of time left, perhaps now you could cover us the grounds for divorce in New York as opposed to New Jersey. Adultery.
Right.
Go on. Give me.
The ones that are commonly used, adultery is not used on the uncontested, but there is adultery, which are used in the more difficult cases, cruel and inhuman treatment, abandonment, and the no-fault divorce, which means you've been separated legally for a period of 1 year.
That's what we call a no-fault.
Right.
Really, okay. And of course, there are the other physical cruelty, prison.
Right, I'm using the ones that are the most common. You can have after 3 years incarceration in a prison. If you get one of those cases in a lifetime, it's extraordinary.
Okay, after the person has separated legally for 1 year, both parties signed a legal agreement. In New Jersey, you're saying all they have to do is be apart for 18 months, having not signed anything.
Correct. Not required that they come to any agreement about anything. And then they can file for a no-fault divorce. And then we have all the same grounds as was just mentioned. Adultery, extreme cruelty, desertion, imprisonment, deviant sexual conduct, which nobody knows what that means yet.
Well, Dale Robbins, you've got...
No, the reason you don't need a written agreement in New Jersey is the fact that they have this equitable distribution. So there's no need to divide property. It's divided at the time of the divorce. In New York, we don't have community property law. So if they signed it, that's one way they can share it equally.
I'm glad you bring that up, because the next couple we're going to meet is from New Jersey, and the question is equitable distribution. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. A reminder is that you can call us here in the studio. The numbers flashed on your screen from time to time. At the phones are a number of volunteers, matrimonial lawyers, and marital counselors. Remember, they can't give you individual legal advice, but they can speak generally about the law and refer you to help in your own community. So call us and call a friend who you think could get something out of our program on divorce. We turn now to a New Jersey couple divorcing after 10 years of marriage. They're in their 30s, no children, but they have a big stake in alimony and division of property. Call that big stake whatever you want, the settlement, the agreement, the deal. At any rate, we now go to New Jersey, and we meet our next couple, Jerry and Diana.
My lawyer's a woman, thank God, or I would have been even more embarrassed. No, not about divorce. Embarrassed about money. My first trip to the lawyer's office, it wasn't what I expected at all. I thought we'd talk about Jerry and what he's been doing, and why I want a divorce.
I don't know why she wants a divorce. That's Diana for you. You listen and you listen. You don't know what she's talking about half the time.
Money. My lawyer was talking about money. I mean, first I told her a few things about our marriage and about Jerry hitting me and everything, and she said, okay, fine. Just like that. Then she asked me if I was absolutely sure I wanted out, and I said, yes, I think so.
Tell you the truth, the first time Diana went to the lawyer, I wasn't heartbroken. I mean, so many headaches. But now I don't know. It could be expensive. Who cares? I mean, everybody's doing it. So what's to be embarrassed?
It was the questions. How stupid I felt. She asked me, how much does your husband make? I says, I don't know. He has his own business. Jerry handles all the money. I need money. He gives it to me. Jerry's generous when I behave. He's got 3 stores. Whose name is the house in, she asked. Both names, I said. You sure? I think so. What about life insurance, car titles, bank accounts, stocks, real estate? What about tax returns? I signed them, I said. Oh, what'd they say? How much? I never felt so stupid.
Let her into Bamberger's, you wouldn't think she's stupid about money. She's not stupid about money, just lazy. I mean, not interested in the minor details like balancing a checkbook or paying the bills. I mean, what'd she care about the business, as long as it was making money?
Yeah, it's a good thing I didn't care. He wouldn't have told me. Jerry don't like to talk about money. His money.
Well, it's nobody's business. It's my business. She wants to find out about money, let her get a job. She'll find out about money.
My lawyer says he's got to tell me. My lawyer says here in Jersey they have an equitable distribution law. That means I get half of what we got, 50-50. Jerry's not going to like that.
So what's all this about divorce? Come on, I'm a good investment. I take care of the house. I give her money. Hey, Diana's never earned a dime in her life.
No, no, I won't take that. Let's get the story straight. I was working when we got married. I was working and I was going to school to be a registered nurse. I could have made good money, but I stopped. We didn't have anything, and I had to go to work. I paid the bills. Let's not forget that part. My lawyer says I'm not too old to go back to nursing school. I don't have any kids, but I am too old to go back to school and work too, and I shouldn't have to.
Her working? I'm never going to hear the end of that. And it was 10 years ago. And you think she gave up a scholarship for me? Hey, let me tell you, a scholar she's not. You know what she wants? She wants me to pay her to leave me to go back to school. Crazy. Hey, look, so we had some trouble. Forgive and forget, right?
Forgive and forget? He punched me in the face. He cracked a tooth one time. And last year, I had to go to Puerto Rico with my mother for 2 weeks while my eye got over being black.
I didn't mean to hurt her. Hey, I'm not a wife beater or anything. I'm a businessman. Look, I like my wife. I love my wife. I just can't stand her screaming at me. I told her I'm not going to hit anymore. But nag. Why can't I be like Miriam's husband, Albert? How come we never go out? How come we don't go to the city to plays? I work. I'm a businessman.
That's right. He loves that business more than me. And I think he just found out he might have to give me half. Forgive and forget. He always promises. He always promises he'll never hit again. But he gets mad. He hits. But no more. He hits again. I get to kick him out of the house. That's what my lawyer said.
I told her I'd slow down. I wouldn't work so hard. We'd go out.
I don't mind him working. I like a man who works. I like a man who makes a little money. But this one, he's not a man. In a lot of ways, he's not a man.
I knew she'd bring it up. I knew it. About me not being a man. Man, I used to be okay. I used to be fine. Then about a year ago, something happened. I don't know, the doctor says it happens to everybody sometimes. And sometimes it doesn't happen.
He's more worried about it than me.
And why do you keep bringing it up? What do you want me to do? I try hard.
You punch hard.
I told you. I'm not a wife beater. I'm a businessman.
I tried to get him to go to help. You know what he said? You know what he said. I'm not crazy. I'm a businessman. Well, he is. And right now, I sure wish I knew more about his business. Once he says, make me an offer. You want out? Make me an offer. My lawyer offered. We charge mental cruelty. Nothing about him hitting me and that other doctor stuff. And we wanted half.
Crazy. My friend Frank, he knows about the divorce. He said, sell everything. Put titles into corporations. Find banks that nobody ever heard of. But I hate to sell the business.
My lawyer says we got a good chance. And I don't want to be his partner. We want cash. And maybe the house if he wants to sell his half to me. And there's other things about insurance and taxes and things. Something about tax forms I already signed in case Jerry cheated.
What cheated? She won't talk reason. We can make a deal, but she won't talk reason. I don't know why she wants a divorce. But if the law says she gets half, she gets half. Half of what's left after I'm through. But alimony? No, sir, I refuse. Look, did I hit her? All right, I hit her. But alimony? Oh, so she can shack up with some stud, some boyfriend someplace? She wants to be a nurse. Let her spend her half.
My lawyer says Jerry will talk tough, but he'll settle. She says he loves the business. He'll find the money and pay me off. So, pay me off.
My lawyer says that this settlement's going to cost me plenty. But we probably won't have to go to court. I mean, court. Who needs court? That takes time. And I don't want it talking about me in court. But I don't want to give it a sun and the moon or the business either. My lawyer says it's like business. You negotiate.
It's true, of course, to a degree you do negotiate, but there are some interesting differences in the law as written in New Jersey and New York, and we've asked lawyer Gary Skoloff from West Orange to stay with us. He's joined tonight by Marjorie Fields, managing attorney of the Family Law Unit of Brooklyn Legal Services, which provides free legal counsel to those who can't afford it. Gary, I want to start right off on this question about equitable distribution in New Jersey. I should point out we don't have it in New York. What does it mean? Would that woman get half of that of Jerry's business?
The answer is she would not necessarily get half of Jerry's business. Her lawyer gave her erroneous information. If he told her, or she told her, that under New Jersey law, equitable distribution means a 50-50 division. Our Supreme Court, in the trilogy of Supreme Court decisions that came down several years ago, specifically said there is not to be a 50-50 presumption in New Jersey under our equitable distribution law, which means that the wife can get different percentages depending upon the many, many factors that go into it. Now, clearly, where the husband has 3 stores and he's operating those 3 stores, there's going to be a mix of alimony and equitable distribution to the wife. She would never get 50-50 of the stores, for the simple reason, if none other, then no man who's in business could ever raise the kind of monies necessary to make a payment to a wife of 50% of the asset of a going business and also be giving her alimony.
Well, tell us then very quickly, what does equitable distribution mean in New Jersey? We all think of California's community property law.
Right. We are not a community property state.